education experts who are here today to talk about ways we can reimagine grading in K-12 schools. Before I do that, I do want to mention our sponsor and just share a few words with you all. This webinar is hosted by Otus. Otus is a platform that saves educators time by keeping all of the tools they need in one place. Otus is a hub for all of your student data, from national, state, and local assessments to formative and summative assessments that students can take right in the Otus platform. There is also a standards-based and traditional gradebook in Otus, as well as some really robust analytics features that can help you to identify learning gaps and then really use the data to drive instruction forward. If, as a result of seeing all of your student data in one place, your team identifies that a student might need intervention or a personalized learning plan, you can do all of that right within Otus. It's truly a one-stop shop. So because Otus offers those standard-aligned assessments and is a standards grade book, my team and I really work with educators across the country every day who are transitioning to standards-based grading and really looking for an easy-to-use platform to do so. And that's why we're here having this conversation with you all today. We really want to spotlight the amazing leaders out there who have the expertise to help you at your school transition to standards-based grading, or just learn more if it's something that you're researching and considering as a change of practice. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists and our experts for today, and then we're going to really dig into this conversation. So on our panel today, we have Dr. Alexandra Bayard, Director of Curriculum and Instruction at St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Austin, Texas. We have Dr. Matt Townsley, a published author and Assistant Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And we have David Dustin, Principal of Conant Middle High School, part of Jaffrey Ridge Cooperative School District in New Hampshire. So we are really coast to coast here today, supporting you all with this conversation. Our focus for today is reimagining grading practices and providing students with meaningful feedback on learning standards, and really digging into what that looks like for each of the leaders here today. I'm going to start it off with Dr. Townsley. Dr. Townsley, as an expert in the assessment and grading space, can you share with everyone here today how standards-based grading is different from traditional grading, and then what impact, if any, you're seeing on student learning really in your work with schools across the country?
Standards-based grading simply just is a way of communicating students' strengths and areas for improvement in relation to the standards. Those could be state standards, those could be national standards, whatever kind of the local paradigm or context is in your school system. So the best way to explain it, Kendall, is probably through a metaphor, right? When I take my Honda Odyssey minivan, we're a family of 6, so we got to have a minivan, right? We take that minivan to the mechanic. We would be appalled if the mechanic said, well, you're getting like your minivan's like at 85.2%. I'd be like, whoa, mechanic, what the heck's going on around here? What's the problem with my vehicle? What's like the 15% that's not doing so well? The mechanic would never say that. In contrast, many of our listeners are probably familiar with like a multi-point inspection that a mechanic might do, right? Where they say, like, hey, your brakes are green, but your windshield wipers are yellow and your battery is red. Like battery, like, whoa, get it fixed. Drivers can wait a while. Like it's a very much of a diagnosis of the Townsley Honda Odyssey. And that's really what standards-based grading aspires to do in a report card or in a grade book, is really just to highlight students' strengths and areas for improvement in relation to these national or state standards that we have to teach anyways. So it makes sense for us to report those out in the grade book or the report card. And I tell you what, it is so awesome with these two other panelists today that can probably like dig down the weeds and just share with us like what it looks like in their local school setting.
I love that metaphor. That was a very easy way to understand something that I think can be hard to wrap your head around, especially having been a teacher and been through the transition. They should have done that metaphor years ago. So thank you for that. Before I move on to Dr. Bayard here, a participant today, Christina Cook, thank you for this question. Christina is wondering if the district hasn't fully adopted standards-based grading, but a teacher believes in the philosophy. Dr. Townsley, what is one small change that they could make regarding assessment and grading that might have a big impact? So like, what's just one small thing I can do today to get started?
Yeah, I think just one really quick thing is say, hey, you know what? Maybe I am accustomed to doing like, putting the chapter 5 test out of 35 points in the grade book. I can start as a teacher starting to think about what was the purpose of that chapter 5 test? Using kind of like a backwards design mentality, like what were the specific standards that students were supposed to have demonstrated? And maybe as a teacher, I have permission to kind of break down that test in the grade book and starting to record it as standards in the grade book. If I don't have that same level of permission yet from my district, maybe I'm going to start like dual reporting. I can report out to my, like, hey, here's how you were doing, kind of in this multi-point inspection metaphor, right? Here's how you did on this specific standard, like related to Pythagorean's theorem. And here's how you did on this specific standard in relation to like right triangle trigonometry. So I can share with students through my written feedback where they're at in relation to those standards while still kind of acknowledging the district expectations, rules, or policies, and putting it maybe out of 100 points or 35 points or a percentage or something along those lines. So I think we're all at a spot where we can start what I think is perhaps the biggest benefit of standards-based grading. That really is teacher and student clarity. What in the world is it that students are supposed to learn and be able to do? And how can I do a better job as an educator providing students with that feedback? And if possible, providing parents with that same level of feedback through the report card or through the grade book. And I think, again, Kendall, any teacher here can do kind of this dual reporting thing. And that will help them start to think more about this standards-based mindset. And you asked this question earlier, like, what's the impact? That's the impact right there, right? As educators, when we have a better idea of what students are supposed to know and be able to do, it's going to positively impact our ability to identify by the student, by the standard, who's getting it and who needs additional time and support. And that is lovely, lovely to hear as a teacher.
We did get a lot of questions around where and how to track standards. I will just put in a mention that if you have not heard of Otus, O-T-U-S, Otus, that is our sponsor for today. We do have a standards-based gradebook that is organized by standard rather than assessment. So you can look holistically at one skill and all of the students' attempts, whether those be formative or summative, towards that skill and really see progress in an individualized way. We heard lots of conversation today about making sure every child gets what they need to be successful, that equity piece. It's important to have tools that can help you to see and track growth in real time. And that's something that Otus does really well. So if you'd like to learn more or continue the conversation with us, definitely do so. We are Otus, otus.com. And highly recommend checking out some of our other resources there. We definitely appreciate the expertise of those who are here, though, and love having the opportunity to learn from leaders like Dr. Baird and David, who use Otus daily and help us learn more as well.